I'm waiting on notification. Okay, perfect. And we are live. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to a very special edition of Off the Record on the People's Podcast this afternoon. We have an incredible guest, a recurring guest, who's going to give us some powerful information as well as inspiration with the very serious topic that is at hand this evening, and that is the topic of who is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. First of all, assalamu alaikum, Brother Abdul, sir.
Walaikum salam.
My sister Miriam says, assalamu alaikum, salam, and thank everybody who continuously watches the People's Podcast and show love and support. Brother Minister, Student Minister Abdul, Brother Minister, yesterday the name Farrakhan was trending all over the world.
Yes, sir.
Due to the minister's great representation as usual, speaking at DMX's funeral. Why is there such a, as they use the language, furor or controversy over this man, Minister Farrakhan? Why is there always a thing?
The brother, first of all, assalamu alaikum, and thank you for having me on your show. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, we thank Him for coming in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, raising up the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and granting to us out of His grace the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And to answer your question, why is there so much controversy? It is because the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan tells the truth, as it was with every prophet, every messenger of God that God raised up. There was controversy surrounding them all because they all spoke the truth and they were unafraid to tell the truth. That's why there's controversy surrounding the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because he speaks the truth and he is unafraid. Okay. So, but it is a blessing, brother, that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was trending. The word controversy, right? The prefix contra means against, right? And the suffix or the root word means like the conventional thinking or the conventional opinion, right? So we know that as black people, we've been lied to about absolutely everything that we've ever been taught by this enemy, right?
Yes, sir.
So everything that we've been taught has been a lie. So anybody who comes in a world that is built on lies, and lies has become the standard language of the world, right? If a world is built on lies and somebody stands up and tells the truth, and that truth is against the agreed upon lie, then the person who tells the truth is going to be controversial. So this is why the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is controversial, because he not only does he know the truth, right?
Yes, sir.
But he's unafraid to speak the truth. There's a lot of people that know the truth, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
but
sir.
They're afraid to speak the truth that they know that goes against the agreed upon lies.
Powerful. Yes, sir. And for the young generation, the millennials, the Generation Z, and rap music is, hip hop has always been a thing, but
Right.
rap music, especially now, like hip hop runs all of the genres, is very influential. Why is there such an attraction to the Most Honorable Louis Farrakhan from the hip hop, from all generations, but especially the younger generation now as well?
Man, that's a good question. The reason, brother, that the hip hop community is so heavily influenced by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam is several reasons. But the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, as we know, was the minister in New York City from 1965, for 10 years, from 1965 to 1975, under the leadership of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, right?
Yes, sir.
So New York is the base of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. That is a foundation that he laid in New York, right? So when the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was in New York, you know, we have mosques all over the United States, right? And when we have two mosques in the same city, you'll have like down there in Atlanta, you have Mos 15, right?
Yes,
And
sir.
then you have in College Park, you have Mos 15B, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, you know, we have some cities that have like in New York, they have 7, right? And then in Brooklyn, you know, when I was out there, our dearly beloved brother Hafiz, took me to Muhammad Mosque 7C in Brooklyn, right, where he's from,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
And but the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan put in so much work in New York City that they had mosque all the way up to the letter R. So his root is deep in New York, right? So that's one, right? The work of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the him specifically, but in a broader sense, the work of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad always put his best minister in New York City. So before the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan came to New York, Malcolm was in New York, right? So the root of Islam goes deep in New York City, right? So, but now there's another caveat to that. So there's a brother who was in the mosque in New York under Brother Malcolm, and was a contemporary of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. His name was Clarence 13X. And Clarence 13X left the physical structure of the mosque, right? And he did what we should do, right? What we all should do in the nation. He took what he learned and he taught it to the young people in New York City and called them 5%ers, right?
Yes, sir.
So now, if you move forward into the future, I know people, the hip hop purists, are going to get mad at me if I get the date wrong. I think it might have been 1977 or 1978, right there in New York City, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was rebuilding the work of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, just starting out. That's where hip hop was born, right? And when hip hop was born right there in New York, a lot of these brothers who were 5%ers, who loved the minister, right, grew up on the minister's words, but were in the 5% Nation of Islam under our brother Clarence 13X. All of those brothers became the stars in hip hop, right? All of them, right? And many of them who were not Muslims, just because there were so many Muslims in hip hop, then the influence of Islam was right there. So if you go back, right, and you look at KRS-One, My Philosophy, right? Are you a philosopher? Yes, right? So if you go back and look at that, and there's a collage of pictures that he has in that collage, and that's like early hip hop. In that collage of pictures, you have a picture of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has been at the very foundation of hip hop, right? So you have rappers like Biggie, right, who said that he's deep like the mind of Farrakhan, right?
Yes, sir.
You have rappers like Chuck D and Public Enemy who were members of the Nation of Islam, right? And
Yes,
were rappers at the same time, like so many, right?
Yes, sir.
And they would use clips of the minister and say the minister's name in their lyrics, and it caused brothers like myself to wonder, like, who is this man that they're talking about, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So the minister's connection to hip hop is deep. He's been there since the very beginning, helping to guide the hip hop community, right? The brothers in the 5% Nation love the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. All the majority of the hip hop artists, right, love him, right? So,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
and I'm going to just wrap this point up. When there's a conflict in the hip hop community, they reach out to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So when Biggie and Tupac were in a beef, right? And the thing, like, you have people right now who say they don't like Farrakhan, but they love Tupac, right? But Tupac was so influenced by the minister. You know, Tupac's mother, Afeni Shakur, had him growing up listening to the minister's lectures, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
you listen to Tupac's Machiavelli 7-Day Theory, and there's a song called White Man's World, right? Where Tupac does the whole song, right?
Yes, sir.
He has Dr. Khaled on the song, right? But then at the end, he gives the whole end of the song to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan from his speech from the Million Man March. So, and then if you listen to the names of Tupac's crew, right? Edie Amin, right? One of them's name was Elijah Muhammad. Like, we can't make this stuff. This is just what it is, right? So, because the influence of the Nation of Islam runs deep in the hip hop community, right? The rappers love the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Period. All the ones that are behind you on the wall, yes, they all love the minister, right? Correct. So he settled the beef when the East Coast was warring with the West Coast. After Tupac and Biggie were killed, they reached out to the minister. He was able to bring all the rappers together and squash the beef. He squashed the beef between Ice Cube and Common, right? And so many others. Even when Ja Rule and 50, I know 50 was, a new artist at the time. He didn't want to sit down with the minister. Of course, 50 respects the minister, right? Yeah. As all the artists do. But he was able to settle that beef between the artists. And that's just the things that we know about. But there are a lot of things that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has done for the hip-hop community that we don't know about. Now, I was at the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's house the night that G Herbo, a.k.a. Lil Herb, right?
Yes, sir.
And all of the OGs in Chicago had dinner with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I was there, right? And I saw the respect that G Herbo and all of the rappers had for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I was in the room when he met with King Louis, Lil Herb. I don't know all the Chicago rappers' name. One of them passed away. A few of them passed away since then.
Yes, sir.
They were all at the Salam restaurant. I was there. And when the Honorable, and it was beefing right then, and the Honorable Louis Farrakhan had brought them together to squash the beef. And King Louis was sitting on the edge of his seat next to Lil Herb, drinking in every word of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So I'm just telling you the things that I witnessed for myself. And even the young rappers who I personally know right now, like Corporate, right? Who I know very well, right? And Cowboy, I've had them all. I worked with all of them in the past. They love the minister, brother. All of these young brothers love the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And it is because they see the love that he has for them and the love that he has for hip hop. So they just reflect that love.
Excellent response. And thank you all for continuing to watch the People's Podcast. So many people are showing you love. Please like, share, and subscribe. Okay, yes, sir, Abdul. Now, speaking of squashing beefs, one of the greatest days in the history of the world, of course, is the Million Man March. A day where there was no crime and things were all peaceful, and you see how all millions of black men were there. How is that? Is that day important for us to know? And why is it important that the Most High Minister Louis Farrakhan called that? What does that mean that he called it and then was able to pull that together?
Man, that's, brother, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So the thing that we have to understand about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he's not a black leader, right? He's not like Jesse Jackson or Al Sharpton. And I'm not criticizing those brothers. He's not a black leader. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is a man from God, right? So we don't want to just limit him to just a black leader. But he's a man that is raised up by God to deliver us from our enemies. So now, for our young people who weren't alive back then, right? I was actually alive during the time of the Million Man March. I was young at that time. And there was a whole buildup. So whenever the white man wants to destroy a nation what does he do? He uses the press and the media to vilify the nation, to get the people emotionally riled up, and then when they attack the nation, then they feel that they're justified because they got the people's support, right? So when they wanted to go and assassinate Saddam Hussein, what did they say? They said he had weapons of mass destruction. They said he was snatching babies out of incubators. They say he was doing all of this evil. He was gassing people and all of these other things, right? That Saddam Hussein, who had just been their friend for 20 years, right? That Saddam Hussein had did. So they whipped it up and made it to where it was so, he was such a boogeyman and such an evil man, and Iraq was such an evil country, that when the Congress decided to go to war, then the people were behind it. But then when they got there, they found out there was no weapons of mass destruction. They found out that all of these stories were planted in the media, and that the media promoted the lie, right? That Saddam Hussein was some boogeyman, and that we needed to go in and we needed to assassinate him. But they used the media to create the atmosphere to justify what they wanted to do to this man, right? They did the same thing with Gaddafi. They did the same thing with Bashar al-Assad in Syria, right? Every time they want to murder somebody, they always, or assassinate somebody, they always paint them with a negative light in the media, right? We've seen this as black people. So what was happening in the late 80s and the early 90s? Well, we know that the government brought crack into the black community, right? They brought crack in. They did to black people the same thing they did to the Chinese people when the British wanted to take the silver and out of China. Then what did they do? They brought in opium and let the Chinese get high, right? And they built opium dens, and all the Chinese people would be smoking opium all day, sleep in the opium den, while the British were robbing China blind, until what happened? Until a Chinese leader stood up, right, named Wang Feihong, and drove what they call the foreign devils out of China. So the same thing that the British did to the Chinese is the same thing that the white man did and is doing to the black community. They brought in drugs. They brought Ronald Reagan, George Bush, the CIA, the American government, right? This is actual facts. They brought in drugs, right, and dumped it into the black community, right? They learned how to manufacture crack from South America. And because they had started freebasing in South America, they went and they investigated it, and then they brought it back and they gave it to black people. And this is where you get the base heads and the crackheads and all of that, right? And when crack came, then it led, because people, black drug dealers were able to make so much money so quickly, right? Okay. That it led to warfare in the black community, and all of this was orchestrated by our open enemy. So once we started fighting each other over drugs and drug territory, like right here in Chicago, when the projects were here, when the Robert Taylor homes were here, they would shoot between buildings because they were trying to take over that drug territory. It was so bad in Chicago that the mayor came out and said, look, can y'all just stop shooting while the children are getting on the bus going to school and they're getting off the bus coming home from school? That's how bad it was in Chicago. So once the government brought in crack, right, and George Bush held up a bag of crack cocaine on national television and said they're selling it in front of the White House, right, to whip up the anger of the average white person against who? Against young black men. That started in the late 80s and continued through the 90s, right? So just like they would justify the murder of any foreign leader that they don't like, they were justifying through the media, they were justifying the murder of black men all over the United States. Then in that justification, they came up with this term. They used the incident that happened in New York, where the 5 brothers were accused of raping a white woman in Central Park, that we now we know they're innocent. But they used that incident to say that young black men who were my age at that time were super predators. So Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, the Democrats who we claim that love us, right, and the Republicans who we know hate us, right, and the Democrats do too, they started to use this term called a super predator, which was a young black man from like 18 to 25 or whatever the age range was. And if you listen to their words and you go back and read their words, Joe Biden is in the Senate talking about the super predators. Like, there's nothing we can do about them. We have to lock them up. We have to deal with them. There's a speech by Joe Biden when he wanted to pass the crime bill. The super predator was the pretext to pass the crime bill that led to mass incarceration. So now this is the backdrop that led to the Million Man March. Now the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because he's God's man on the straight path, he was already on a Stop the Killing tour because he saw the plan of the enemy. That's where I heard him. I heard him in the Omni in April of 1990. I think it was April 28th. So this is about to be the anniversary, right? 1990 on a Stop the Killing tour when I was a high school student, right? So you got Negroes who live in their mama's basement right now and will make a video about the minister, negative video, and these Negroes have no work to speak of, haven't done anything to save the lives of black people. How old are you? Man, you what? You 22? Come on, man. This man was working before you was born. What are we talking about? So, brother, my point is, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan saw the plan of the enemy, and he went directly to black people and traveled all over America to every city on a Stop the Killing tour, right? Then, so that was the pretext or the build up to the Million Man March, right? He spoke in New York, and in New York City, as he was speaking, he said that he was going to bring 1 million men to Washington, D.C.
Yes,
right?
Sir. Yes, sir.
And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan does not speak his own will. He speaks God's will. So the words that come out of his mouth are the words from God for us, right? So he said that when the words came out, he looked at it, he said he couldn't take it back in. So then he had to deal with it, right? So then what did he do? So, but all of this, now I need everybody to understand the plan of the enemy. The plan of the enemy was the wholesale slaughter of black people. That was the plan of the enemy. Black men. That was the enemy's plan, right? They wanted to whip it up so bad until they could justify murder. They already justified mass incarceration, right? Or not justify murder, but justify genocide. So now, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, through the Stop the Killing tour, is interfering with their plan. But the enemy has the media at his disposal that he uses to paint people and groups in the way that he wants them to be painted, right? So now, in order to combat the influence of the media, the mainstream media, or as Donald Trump would say, the fake news media, right? Something now has to happen that is so big that it can't be ignored, right? It can't be swept under the rug, right? So out of his mouth comes, I'm going to call 1 million men to Washington, D.C., right? So, brother, it was less than a year after he said that. To show you how God works, it was less than a year after he said that he was going to bring 1 million men to D.C. He started then to have men's only meetings all over the United States. Because you just can't say the will, you just can't speak the will of God and not work the will of God. See, a lot of us believe in a mystery God. We believe that God is just going to do something just because he's got, well, he is God, right? You hear people say that God is all powerful. Why don't he just, if God is all of this, then why don't he just, well, what is your part in all of this? Do you have a part, right? So he spoke what God wanted, but then he had to work the will of God. So again, he went all over America speaking to men only for the men's only meeting, right? He started in New York. He went all over the country. I was there in Houston. I was a college student. in Houston when he spoke to the men in Houston. And we were at a church. The video is on the internet, on YouTube.
Yes, sir.
We were at a church in Houston that seat 8,000 people. 35,000 black men came out to hear the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I'm telling you what I witnessed as a college student and a very new member of the Nation of Islam. 35,000 black men came out. I was there in New Orleans when he spoke to men only, and he filled the Superdome, right? And I was in Chicago when he spoke to men. Those are the ones that I witnessed myself. But he went all over the country speaking to black men. White people and the United States government did and Negro bootlickers, right, did everything within their power. You have to think about how much power does the white man have if he opposes you. They did everything within their power to destroy the work of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Everything. The media talked bad about the march. They went to all the black leaders, all the black celebrities, the entertainers, the basketball players. I'm not going to count their names out. And they asked, are you going to the Million Man March? How could you support this hate? All of this kind of stuff, right? And the minister brother didn't care about any of those things because the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan went straight to the people. He didn't go to the celebrities. He didn't go to the rich and the famous. He went straight to the black man who was in the targets of the white man's plan for destruction and spoke straight to them. And went all over the country speaking to black men and telling them we're bringing 1 million men to Washington, D.C. Now, I'm in the nation and I love the minister and I'm helping to organize for the Million Man March. But brother, I'll tell you the truth. We did not know. We love the minister and we just thought, man, if just a nice group of people show up, you know what I'm saying, we'll be straight. But I'll tell you, brother, we put in a lot of work. We put in so much work, and not just us. All of our people, the nationalist community, our Christian brothers and sisters, black women, all of us came together. But now, to show you how God works, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan did everything within his power, I'll say, to make it where we could make an excuse not to go. He said, look, all the other Negro marches, the white companies, right, Jewish philanthropy, and white corporations pay for every Negro march. They get on TV and say, we're marching for jobs and justice, right? And they look strong on television, but when they get off television, they have to go beg the white man for a check in order to pay for the buses and pay for the advertisements and pay for the signs and buy lunches for everybody, right? And pay for hotels, right? And pay airfare for the leaders, right? See, that's the part they don't tell. That you're at the march talking strong, but everything has been paid for by our enemy. So you can't be but so strong. So now the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said we're going to pay for this march. So the white people couldn't come in and take over like they've done every other march. It's the only march, or the first march, because they did 3 more after that, or he did. The first march that black people did that was paid for by black people, not by the enemy, right? So that's one. We're going to pay for it ourselves, right? Every civil rights leader will be looking at you crazy. No, we don't pay for no marches. You know, we get the money from this foundation, right? That's one. The second thing he said is when he said we're going to pay for it, that's talking about the march, jumbotrons, all of that, all of those fees, right? But now every man had to pay his own way to get there. See, when white people pay for it, then they pay for a bus, they pay for people to come, right? Nobody pays their own way. White people pay their own way. This is why you can't stand up and say we're going to boycott Walmart, because Walmart just paid for the whole march. So you can't say nothing bad about Walmart. In fact, you got to have a Walmart logo on the podium while you speaking. Or you got to have a Walmart hat on, because Walmart paid for this march, right?
Yes,
I'm
sir.
not making this up. This is real. Now, so one, we paid for the march, black people, right? Mainly the Nation of Islam. Two, every man that came had to pay his own way, right? Three, the march was on a Monday. So if you gotta work, in fact, not if you gotta work, he told everybody take the day off, right? It's a holy day for black people. Take the day off work. Don't send your children to school. Right now, this is a man that's not controlled by the enemy, that's going to black people saying, look, this is what we're going to do as a free black man. And what happened? So, brother, when I got to the march that morning, I came over Capitol Hill, right? I forgot how many buses came out of Chicago, but I was in a squad with a brother named Brother Jackie, who was a dear friend of mine who's passed away. May Allah be pleased with Brother Jackie. So we were in a squad called Al Qadir. And even though the mosque had, like, I don't know how many buses, it was a lot. Our squad wanted to have buses, so we ended up having 5 buses for the Million Man March, right? And as a brother who was at that time on the secretarial staff at Mas Mariam, and a lieutenant and an assistant minister, brother, we put in work. So as we got closer to the march, right, more and more people, right, were saying they were going to come to the Million Man March. And the OJ case was going on at the same time, right? So Allah just, Allah's the best of planners. So the whole country is on edge because of OJ, right? And then OJ gets off, white people go crazy, and then black people see that, and they're like, man, we got to go to the march, right? So what ended up happening, brother, when I came over Capitol Hill, right, with the brothers that we brought to the Million Man March, David Banner was there, right? So many people were there, and I'm saying he wasn't even known at the time. He was just a college student at the college that I had just graduated from. So when I came over Capitol Hill, brother, and I saw all of those brothers out there, I was blown away, right? And I'm sure the enemy was blown away too. But the reason that march is significant is for a lot of reasons, brother. Because what it did, because it was so awe-inspiring, because the enemy has spent years building up this negative image of black men, right? The years, right? Late 80s, early 90s, right? And if you looked at the murder rate, like we talk about black on black crime now, but the highest murder rates were in the late 80s and the early 90s. The highest homicide rate in the history of Chicago, one in 1974, right? With 979 homicides. And the other highest was 1994. The year before the Million Man March, right? So we just talk because the white man tells us, or gives us these talking points, right? But so that one day, because the world was able to see that the black man was not what the enemy was portraying on television and in movies like Menace to Society and Boys in the Hood, which were all being used to show black men in a negative light. So that one event prevented the enemy from his plan of genocide against black men. That one event of the Million Man March. So people talk a lot of stuff about what did the Million Man March accomplish. It saved the lives of millions of black men, right? That's number one, and that's one of the greatest things it could do, if not the greatest. Then when we got to the march, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan told black people to adopt black children that were sitting in foster care, right? And thousands of black children were adopted. So how can you put a price on a black child that's in foster care getting abused, and then because of this Million Man March being in a loving, caring family, and then you who don't have nothing to do with it want to say, well, what did the Million Man March accomplish? Because you were under the false impression that you could sit at home and do nothing and things would change because of a march, even though things did change, because the Million Man March impacted a lot of people. But there's no one event that's going to change everything. We have to work the will of God every single day in our lives to make the change that we want to come about. So thousands of children were adopted. Then the minister said, brothers, if you're not in your children's lives, go, even if you don't get along with the mother, go and make up with her and get involved in your children's life. So you mean that the millions of brothers that did that don't have no value in the life of a black child? No, but if he would have said vote for a white man, then we'd be jumping up and down doing backflips. But since he says no, don't waste time voting for these white people. Go and build your black family and adopt black children and marry your girlfriend who had babies for you. That's more important than voting for a white man. So the Million Man March accomplished a lot, brother. And I got to say this. I know this has been a long answer, because I know somebody is some hater right now is already in the messages, right, in the feed, saying, well, what happened to the money, right? What happened to the money? Because the white man told you to be like that. I'm gonna prove what I say. J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI did research to find out what will make black people turn on their leaders, right? And the thing that they found out is that black people don't turn on their leaders if they find out that they have an affair or have girlfriends or whatever. They found out that the thing that makes black people turn on their leaders is when they find out that the leader has been doing something with the money. Because we're poor, right? So if you go back in your mind, if you study history, every time they wanted to destroy a leader, they always said he did something with the money. Yeah. Some of them might, right? And some of them don't. But they know that the money thing is always something that makes black people split from their leaders. So now, this is the trick that they tried to use at the Million Man March. So the Negro that's on the feed typing right now, what happened to the money? You're working for the FBI, right? So what the minister, knowing this, right at knowing the enemy, because the enemy put it on television because the brothers were holding dollar bills up, right? And the minister released the audit for the Million Man March. Now, brother, you can't, like, when the Promise Keepers came to DC, we don't have no audit for the Promise Keepers, right? When they tried to imitate the Million Man March and went broke, right? After, when the Capitol riots just happened, there's no audit for that, right? The only march that produced the audit was the Million Man March. And none of these Negroes who follow white folks and say, well, what happened to the money? None of them are asking that about any other march. The only march they ask that about is the Million Man March, and there's an audit for the Million Man March. It just shows that you're a hater. I know you typing right now, but I'm letting you know you just a hater. Just get over it. It is what it is. So yes, sir, brother. I hope I answered that question.
So you absolutely answered that question. And
praise be to Allah.
Great answer, and thank everyone for watching. Continue to watch the People's Podcast. Now, with this question, who is the most honorable minister, Louis Farrakhan, Abdul? The reason this is very polarizing question for many is because there's new generations that don't fully know who he is.
Right.
So when I go into the community or just talk to people, the average person who may be under 25 may not know who Minister Farrakhan is. What would you say? How would you describe the minister to someone who's never heard of the Million Man March or knows who he is? Besides, they see him on the eulogy or speaking at a funeral or something. How would you describe who he is?
Man, that's a good question. How would I describe who the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is to a young person who never heard of him?
Yes, sir.
I would try to give them some context with people who they may be more familiar with, right?
Yes, sir.
Like a Muhammad Ali or Malcolm X.
Yes, sir.
I would try to give them some context because as a educator, I work with young people, and I would say that 99%. No, maybe not 99. Maybe 90% of the young people that I work with and have been working with don't know who the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is, right?
Yes, sir.
So that, and so then, but what happens is certain things happen that allow them to be introduced to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, right? Like the funeral with DMX, right? I remember when I was at CVS High School here in Chicago, and this is when 50 and Ja Rule were beefing, right? And Ja Rule met with the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, but they played the entire meeting on WGCI, right, in Chicago, live as it was going on. And so I'm at work, and like all my students, like they're bombarding me with all of these questions, right? And like I'm like, I just didn't know. Like, I didn't know. So I want to say the influence of hip hop is tremendous, right? So I didn't know. I can't say that I didn't know the influence of hip hop. I just didn't know that they would be that interested. So I was kind of taken aback because that's all they were talking about, brother. So it's things like that that give us an opportunity to introduce the minister to a younger generation. And I would say to the brothers and sisters in the Nation of Islam, what we have to do is we have to just do the work, right? We can't sit at home. We can't sit in the mosque. We can't be separated from our people, right? We have to be in the streets going after our people because we are the ones that are the best representatives of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to the people. They don't know him because we're not there. If we were there, then they would know who he is. So I'm going to leave it like that.
Beautiful. Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. Brother Abdul, I have to ask the question that is the most, one of the most questions I see in a lot of the comments when dealing with the minister. How has he been able to survive all of these years without being assassinated by the U.S.
Man, I'm glad you asked that question. So just for the viewers, right? And brother, you could bear me witness. I never asked you to send me the questions.
Yes, sir.
But I'm glad you asked that question because that's something that I want to deal with. So, brothers, so I've run into people talking about the minister can't be real. He can't be real because he's still alive, so he can't be real, right? All the real ones died. So, and I'm trying to use proper language because it's Ramadan, right? But the ones who say that claim that they're real. But if we use your logic, if all the real ones are dead, then you're not real. So then why am I listening to you, right? Because you fake. You a government agent or whatever you're trying to say that the minister is. So people who say that, they think and believe that the white man is the ultimate power. They believe that the white man is the ultimate power in the universe, and that if you, even though they talk all this black stuff, right?
Yes, sir.
If you offend white people, right, who is the ultimate power, then they have the power to kill you, right? So those same people, do they say that about the most honorable Elijah Muhammad? He was here 44 years. Right? Some of them do, some of them don't, right? That's the new excuse that they use with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. God's power to save us is greater, and God's power to save us and protect us is greater than the white man's power to destroy us. I'm going to say it again, but this time I'm going to say it in Spanish. God's power to save us and protect us is greater than the white man's power to destroy us. Like I said, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan is not a black leader. The Honorable Louis Farrakhan is a man of God, raised by God and sent by God to deliver you and I. So I've had Muslims, Orthodox Muslims, use that same faulty logic. But now if we look at the life of Prophet Muhammad was in Mecca with his enemies, right? And if somebody would come to a Muslim who loves Prophet Muhammad and say, man, Prophet Muhammad wasn't real, because if he was real, then he would have been killed by the Quraysh. If he was real,
yes, sir,
yes, sir. The fact that he wasn't killed, he wasn't assassinated, lets you know that he ain't real. What Muslim who believes in Prophet Muhammad, right, would say that Allah, the all-powerful God, does not have the power to protect Prophet Muhammad? What Muslim? Not a Muslim. Right? Now, they tried to assassinate Prophet Muhammad, right?
Yes, sir.
And he escaped the death pot. They tried to kill him many times. But Allah protected his servant, right? Every prophet, you look at Abraham, they wanted to kill Abraham, right? When he destroyed the idols, Allah protected Abraham, right? You look at Moses, they wanted to kill Moses, right? Allah protected Moses, right? You look at Jesus, they wanted to kill Jesus, right? Jesus gave his life, right? If you read the history of Jesus by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, or even what's in the Bible, Jesus did not have to die, but Jesus gave his life to the enemy, or gave his life, and that's why we still talk about him to this very day.
Yes, sir.
But God has the power to protect all of his servants. The question is, are we servants, right? So I've heard that excuse, brother, that he can't be real because, why hasn't he been assassinated, why hasn't he, or whatever, and, you don't have any, so there is no, there are no facts, right? The Holy Quran says, bring your proof if ye be truthful. So they don't have any facts to say that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is working for the CIA or anything, right? They don't have any facts to say that. So all they do is conjecture. But where's the evidence? There got to be some evidence if this is the case, and they have no. So just press them, ask them for the evidence. They have none. The fact that he's alive, so that's the low bar. So anybody who's alive is not real, right? Anybody who challenges the government, come on, man, what are we talking about? These same people, they look at Fidel Castro as a hero.
That's right.
The government tried to assassinate Fidel Castro over 600, talking about the United States government, over 600 or 900 times, and he survived every one. Will you say Castro ain't real? Mugabe survived their assassinations. Are we going to say Mugabe is not real? What are you talking about? No, you're scared of white people and you don't want to admit it because you're not real. Let's just say what it is. You're not real. You're afraid. You're a coward, and you want to put your cowardice on the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Stop. He's the realest one.
Yes, sir. In fact, my sister Naima says, yes, sir, say that all praise is due to Allah. But Abdul, I have a few more questions for you, but I definitely
Yes,
want
sir.
to go back and ask you about the next question. But I have a quick 60-second commercial break for all of the sponsors of the People's Podcast.
Yes, sir.
I want to thank you all for continuing to sponsor in this new month. We have some new sponsors, and I'm very grateful and appreciative of all of the sponsorships of this month. Hold on one second. Here we go. Boom. The first sponsor. If you would all like to be a sponsor or a donor of the People's Podcast, please cash app the People's Podcast. Thank you very much. My brother Rashad, Street Premiere Media Production. He has a 4K camera and a drone. He does television and film editing. Thank you very much. Make sure you reach out if you need some editing done. My sister Miriam, ABC I Love Me, children's book and coloring book, both of which are available on Amazon. Make sure you go out and get those. My sister Naima, Stay On Point Dance Academy LLC. She teaches ballet virtually to young girls all across the country. If you have a young woman who would like to learn ballet, reach out to her. Our brothers out of Los Angeles, MTS Car Bros. Any make, any model, any year, 30 to 50% off. Make sure you get your cars and trucks from the MTS Car Bros. Brother Kenneth, bow tie maker extraordinaire. Reach out to him. He'll send bow ties to you all across the country. Sister Latasha Muhammad, Queen is I, Poetry and Apparel. So Latasha, I'm waiting on my shirt. She does some amazing apparel, and the poetry is on fire as well. Our brother Enoch out of Chicago, Hip Hop Detox is a public health and wellness that takes a holistic approach to helping elevate young people all across the country, especially in the school systems right there in Chicago. Dr. Robert of Chicago, he has a new book that is on Amazon, Why Does My Back Hurt? And additional health tips and guidelines. Dr. Robert J. Muhammad, his new book is on Amazon, Why Does My Back Hurt? And additional health tips and guidelines. Thank you very much, Dr. Robert J. out of Chicago. Sister Landra, My Letter A book. We're coming right back to Student Minister Brother Abdul Muhammad. Dr. Henry M. Carter right here in Atlanta, Georgia. King Henry Turkey Legs. Thank you very much, Dr. Carter. Brother Rashad Muhammad, in Chicago, COVID-19 cleaning services. My father's book, A Soldier in the Movement of Christ. And also my two books, Cleopatra, which is a children's book, and No Father, No Excuse, both of which are on Amazon. Right back to Student Minister Abdul Muhammad. Boom. Just like that. Okay, thank you all very much. Brother Abdul, why is the Muslim Minister Farrakhan, why is there a constant hold or press to stop his social media?
So, brother, The Holy Quran says that they desire to put out the light of Allah with their mouths, but Allah will have nothing but the perfection of his light. It's always been the plan of the enemy that no light come to black people. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is the greatest light among black people. Listen to what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said. He said that when the minister made a uniform, a FOI uniform, he designed it, and it had a star and crescent on it. He said, I want to get it correctly. He told him to take the moon out, right?
Yes, sir.
Because you are a star that has no equal. So now, what did he mean by that, though? You are a star that has no equal. There's only one star in the universe that does not have an equal. There are a lot of different stars, right? A lot of stars that give off light. There are stars that are bigger than the sun, right? As far as size, and give off more light and burn hotter, right? Burn so hot that they're white. But none of those stars give life. The only star in the universe that has the ability to give life is the sun, right? So this is why in the 9 planets that rotate around the sun, there's life on all 9, as the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad has been teaching from the 30s, right? And the white man today is just now coming to this conclusion. There's life on all 9 planets. So teaches the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And there's civilizations on 7 out of the 9, right? But the God of the universe lives on the planet Earth, right? The black man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So now, yes, sir, the one who controls it all. But that sun gives life to all 9. Outside of this solar system that we live in, there is no life, because there is no light that can give life. There's light, but it can't give life. So the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the reason that they're opposed to him is not because he's a star that gives off light. It is because he's a star without equal. He gives off light, and that light gives life, and they want us to remain dead. So the move has always been to silence the voice in every generation. The move has always been to silence the voice of the messenger of God. Those in power have always wanted to silence the voice of the one who tells the truth. The one that's raised by God, given the truth from God, tells it, exposes the enemy, and raises the dead to life. They've always wanted to silence that voice. So they think that by taking him off of social media, that they can silence his voice. But the enemy, like the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan brought 1 million men to 2 million men to Washington, D.C. with no social media, right? And did it 4 times without, the only time we really had social media was 10-10-15, right? But it wasn't social media that made them come. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan put in the work. He worked the will of God, and that will that he worked inspired the people to come. So the enemy, the Holy Quran says that Allah plans, that the devil plans and Allah plans, and Allah is the best of planners. So they've always planned against the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam. And at every turn, they realize that Allah is the best of planners. So you taking him off of social media only makes the people want to hear from him more, right? You taking him off of social media, and then when our brother DMX passes away and the people hear him, then more and more people are coming to him, right? So they think that by taking him away, that they're keeping the people away. But really, by taking them away, They're causing the people to search after him. So that's what it is, brother. They always think they're the sharpest knife in the drawer. And they're really not, you know. They actually should just leave us alone, and then we would have to just work to make all of these things happen. They help us so much to reach our people. I mean, but it is what it is, you know.
Yes, sir. But Abdul, one of the questions that is often posed is, who's the we don't have, the statement is made, we don't have no leaders, right? And then after Farrakhan, like, you know, you got Malcolm Margaret, and then after Farrakhan, after the minister, we won't, you know, we can't physically see him. Then who are the black leaders? How do you answer that question when people ask, you know, there's no black leaders, even though the minister's right here? Then, you know.
So I will say this, brother. When people say that, see, when God chooses a people, he doesn't just choose. See, God is the all-knowing, the best knower, the all-wise, the all-seeing, the foreknower. So when he chooses a people, he doesn't just choose them for one generation, right? He doesn't just, oh, well, and then like next week, well, maybe I made the wrong choice. God chose us, right? So since he chose us, he's never going to leave us without guidance and without direction. So right now, there are stars in the universe right now, not equal to the sun, right? The white man has not discovered those stars, but they're already there in the universe and they're giving off light, right? But because the stars are so far away from where we are, and light travels at 186,000 miles per second.
Yes, sir.
But these stars are billions of light years away, right? So then if the star is billions of light years away, then it takes years for the light of that star to be seen by people on Earth. Are you following me?
Yes, sir.
But the star is there. But just because you can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It just hasn't come into your view yet, right? But if you have faith and you believe in God and you know that God chose us and that he is our God and we're his people, right? And you know that he wouldn't leave us without guidance and direction. Why would God bring us this far? Bring us all the way to this point. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad was here 44 years. He did a work and he was undefeated by the enemy. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is here 40 plus years and he's done a work and he's undefeated by the enemy. God gets us to this point and then it's like, oh, that's it. You know, I'm done. I can't, you know, I don't have enough power to do nothing else. You see what I did right here? I mean, that should be enough, right? No, God is not that weak, right? So, brother, I'll say that there are leaders. There's never going to be another minister. This is not going to happen, right? So anybody who has it in their mind that they're going to be the equal, you just need to stop thinking like that, right? But there are going to be, like, we can't see them. Why can't we see them? Because when the sun comes out, what happens to the stars? As long as the sun is here, we can't see no stars, right? Because we're in the light of the sun and you can't see out of the light. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
But when that light goes away, and it's going away, then it allows us to see the light from the other stars that were always there. But we couldn't see them because we were blinded by the light of the sun. So I don't, you know, brother, people have this defeatist attitude. You and I have talked before. I don't have that attitude. I know for a fact that when the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is no longer with us, black people are going to be okay, and the Nation of Islam is going to be okay. Now, does that mean we're not going to go through trials? We're going through trials right now with the minister here. So, of course, we're going to go through trials in his absence. Of course, the enemy is going to try to make a move on us. Of course, the enemy is going to think that now they have free reign because God's man is not here. But once the sun is gone, then the stars will manifest themselves. And the stars will be enough light until the sun comes back. So I'm just going to leave it like that. So all praise is due to Allah.
Great answer as usual, Brother Minister. And thank you everyone who was watching. Continue to watch the People's Podcast. Now, Brother Abdul, my next question for you is, some of the stuff that was trending on Twitter yesterday was speaking about the minister speaking about Jesus. And a lot of our people didn't know that the minister spoke about Jesus. Why does the minister speak about Jesus so much? Why is that important that he speaks about Jesus?
Why is it important that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan speaks about Jesus? Brother, when we were brought here in slavery as black people, we were brought here by a man named Sir John Hawkins.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Who was the first English slave trader. He was not the first slave trader ever. He was the first English slave trader, which is important because we speak English, because we were enslaved by the English, right? If you go to Brazil, the black people in Brazil, which is a lot of them there, they speak Portuguese because they were enslaved by the Portuguese, right? If you go to Central and South America, in the other countries in Central and South America, they speak Spanish because they were enslaved by the Spanish, right?
Yes, sir.
We were enslaved by the English. So Master Fard Muhammad taught us about the first English slave trader, whose name was Sir John Hawkins, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And Sir John Hawkins had a ship, and that ship's name was Jesus. And he used Jesus' good name to deceive our people to get on a boat that brought us into slavery. So he used Jesus like a celebrity endorsement, right? Like Nike uses Michael Jordan or LeBron James, right? Like the General uses Shaq, right? Like Capital One uses what's the brother's name? You know the brother I'm talking about. Who does the Capital One commercials? He was in not Morgan Freeman. He was in Pulp Fiction. Samuel L. Jackson, right? So Capital One uses Samuel L. Jackson, right? So the enemy uses the person you like to get you to buy the product that they want you to buy, right? Or to do the thing they want you to do. Like they use people to try to get you to take this bogus vaccine, right?
Yes.
So the ship Jesus brought us here, right? And the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said that we sang a song, you can have this old world, just give me Jesus.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So Jesus is the language that our people speak. All of you who criticize, all of you so-called Muslims, right? You call yourself Orthodox Muslims, who criticize the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for speaking in churches and speaking from the Bible and all these other crazy things that people say, you don't have the mission of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. We're in a Christian country, and our people, black people, right, believe in Jesus. Jesus is their man. If you go to them and you start talking about Muhammad, they don't want to hear nothing you got to say, because they don't like, that's not the language that they speak, right? But what our people don't know is that Jesus and Muhammad are really one and the same. But you can't tell them that if you don't go and speak their language. Their language is Jesus. So when the minister comes to our people, like any intelligent person would, he speaks the language that they're familiar with. What does the Holy Quran say, right? That we raised up a prophet, that every nation was given a prophet or messenger that spoke the language of the people. So what does that mean? It could mean and does mean language like English, right, or Arabic, right, so that they can understand you, right? But language is much deeper than just the words that are coming out of your mouth. In fact, most of communication, 70% of communication is body language, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Not the spoken word, right? So my point is that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has to come in the language of our people, which is the language of Jesus. And he knows Jesus better than any pastor ever would know Jesus, because he followed Jesus in the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Now I know some people are going to get mad, but that's just between you and you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He followed Jesus, not only followed him, right, but submitted his will to do the will of God through Jesus and became one with his Father. And then ended up walking in the very footsteps of the man that he was following, which is what every Christian should do, right? What did Jesus say? Pick up your cross,
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes, sir.
And do what? Follow me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So now, it's not the Honorable Louis Farrakhan's fault that the Christian community, a lot of them have not picked up that cross. And he did. You see what I'm saying? So, I'm going to leave it right there. But the Honorable Louis Farrakhan speaks on Jesus because this is the language of our people. This is the language that our people speak. And if you want to teach our people, you have to come to them in the language they speak.
Beautiful. Praise be to Allah. Walaikum salam to Tracy, and thank everyone for continuing to watch the People's Podcast. Brother Abdul, there are Shriners of different races and Masons, who understand the scriptures to the best of their ability. Do you think there'll ever be a time where people will come out publicly and say who the most honorable Farrakhan is outside of black people?
You know what, brother? I think that anything is possible. I think it would take a lot of courage, especially now since the enemy has tried to do so many things to ruin the reputation of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. But there may come a time where the Shriners, the white Shriners, who now every Shriner is not good, because J. Edgar Hoover was a Shriner,
yes, sir,
right?
yes, sir.
So just because a person is a Shriner and learns about Islam, right, when they get to, a Mason first, right, and they get to the 32nd degree of Masonry, and they get a choice of whether or not they want to become a Shriner, right, and they can go either the Scottish Rite or the York Rite, right,
yes, sir,
path. But there are a group of Shriners and Masons that know the truth, right, but they use their knowledge of the truth to keep our people down. J. Edgar Hoover was a Shriner, right? J. Edgar Hoover had a shrine in the FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C., so that the other FBI agents who were Shriners would have a place that they could come and meet and plot all of their plots. What does that mean, right? That means he read the Holy Quran, right? He knew that the Messiah would be raised up among black people. But he didn't take that knowledge that he knew. It wasn't an accident. He knew it. And because he knew it, he used the power of his office to try to prevent it, right? And it says right there in the COINTELPRO that one of the goals was to prevent the rise of a Messiah who could unify and electrify the black movement, right? So now, the use of the word Messiah is his word, right?
Yes, sir.
So, but then there are another group of Shriners who know that, not Hiram Abiff, but that, Hiram Abiff, that the black man has been hit in the head,
yes, sir,
and left for dead, and that King Solomon who was searching for Hiram Abiff, that these others tried to raise him from the dead after he had been killed by 3 ruffians, right?
Yes, sir.
That the others tried to raise him, but he had been dead so long that the skin, they couldn't get a grip,
yes, sir,
to be able to raise the dead master builder up to a living perpendicular, right?
Right. That's right.
So when King Solomon came, he had the master's grip, right? So you don't have to ask who the master is. Yes, you just have to look and see who raises the dead. And the one who raises the dead is the master, because only the master can raise the dead. Are you with me? So the Shriners know, because they see the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan raising the dead, so they know he is the master. And the good ones are duty bound to help him, and maybe they are, and we just don't know. Maybe they are. So, but they're duty bound to help him in this mission of raising the dead. I don't know them, so I don't, I can't, I don't know. That's all I'm gonna say on that.
Okay, great. Yes, sir. Thank
So,
you.
but did I answer the question though?
No, you absolutely answered the
question.
Okay,
praise be to Allah.
And thank everyone for their comments and like, shares, and subscribe. I can't wait to put this on YouTube to get the positive feedback from student minister Abdul Muhammad as usual. Abdul, can you please share a personal story of you and the Most High Minister Farrakhan that helped convict you and lock you in with your faith?
A personal story that helped me. So I'm trying to think. Say that question again.
That helped you, like, convict you of who he was, like helped you with your faith based off of your personal interactions or your personal relationship with him.
So, brother, I will say that before even meeting the minister in person, I was already convicted. I didn't need to meet him to be convicted. So I don't have a story where something happened between me and the minister and that convicted me. I don't have that story. Yes, I have a story that I was convicted when I heard him. When I heard the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in Atlanta as a senior in high school. Okay, so I don't know if you want the long version or the short version.
I'll take your time, Roger.
So when I was a junior in high school, I read the autobiography of Malcolm X as a junior in high school. And when I read the autobiography of Malcolm X, I wanted to join the Nation of Islam right then. I was like, man, look, what's up? I want to join the nation. So, of course, I was so inspired by Malcolm's autobiography, I started telling people that I'm a Muslim, that I'm in the nation and all this other kind of stuff, right? And so that year, when I was a junior, I hadn't known about the minister or even knew his name, really. But that year, the Ku Klux Klan led a march through downtown Atlanta. So me, I had like a big chip on my shoulder. I was in Atlanta, right? And my whole mentality as a teenager was to get revenge on white people for everything that they did in history to black people. That was my mindset, right? So when I heard that the KKK was marching through downtown Atlanta, I was like, man, this is it. We gonna get it cracking. So I got all my friends, right? Like, we going downtown. We getting it cracking. We gonna be fighting the Klan. That's just what it was. Like, no question. All my friends, right? We all got on the MARTA bus, right? Moving Africans rapidly through Atlanta. We got on the MARTA bus. We went downtown, and 5,000 police showed up to protect 7 Klans members. Supposed to be the Klan and the skinheads. The skinheads didn't show up. They had 5,000 police that showed up for 7 Klans members. I was in 11th grade. I walked up to the front line of the police with the glass shields and the little thing. I'm cussing the police out. I was reading a book by Kwame Ture. I think it's called Revolutionary Suicide or something. I had the book in my hand, and I'm calling the black officers out their name, which I shouldn't. But that's just where I was at the time, And I'm just, So then, they just standing there, being patient with me, and so in all honesty. So then the march starts. And I'm not the only black person there. It's like thousands of black people. Like, I'm just one. Like, everybody had the same idea. So we all there. At that time, they were building underground Atlanta. So we tore the fence down. We throwing, they had big slabs of bricks that they were going to make for the sidewalks. And we picking up slabs of bricks and just throwing it at the Klan and the police, right? So we're following them through the streets of Atlanta, throwing bricks, bottles, rocks, everything, right? Which at that time I thought it was fun, right? I thought it was a great day, right? Like Ice Cube said, today was a good day. It was a good day. As I was leaving 5 Points, right? Right down there by Walters. I mean, I'm just saying this for the people that's in Atlanta. Right by Walters, right? Where I used to go way before y'all even knew Walters existed, right? I was going there to look fresh, right? Yes, sir. So I'm by 5 Points by Walters, right? And the riot is over with, right? So a black officer, and shout out to all the black police, because I could have been killed, right? So I thought I was smart. So I had a little stick in my book bag, because I figured, man, if a cop comes up to me, he gonna have his stick, I'm gonna have my stick, and we gonna be fighting. This is what I'm thinking, right? I was young, I was ignorant, right? Yeah. And then I had a change of clothes, because I was figuring, if they say he had on a blue shirt and white pants or whatever, I was gonna dip off in the alley, change clothes, and just come out like didn't nothing happen. I had my whole plan, right? I had it in my book bag, right? So, bro, I get to the end of the riots. Everything's almost over, and I got my stick. And this black officer comes up to me, and he's like, "Man, drop your stick." And I look. He got the shield. He got the helmet. He got everything, and he got a long. And he been trained. I just had a stick, so I wasn't gonna try to hit the brother. I dropped my stick, and he's like, "Man, go home." Right? Yeah. Shout out to the black officers, right? Soon as I leave that area, brother, a white officer comes from all the way down the street. Get on the ground, put cuffs on me, right? Throw me in the paddy wagon, right? I got arrested, right? I wasn't 18 yet, so I was still a juvenile, right? So I get sent to the juvenile detention place, right? My mother comes and gets me, cusses me out all the way home, talking about how the white people gonna kill me, right? Just like y'all be talking, y'all little scary Negroes, right? All the way home, my mother is talking to me about how the white people gonna kill me. I'm still here, right? Mm-hmm. So, I end up getting probation, right? I don't go see my probation officer because I ain't like for what? Like, I'm not going, right? Like most young black men. So my probation officer calls me on the phone. He's like, "Look, if you don't come see me, then you're going to have to go back to juvenile." So, okay, I get on the MARTA bus, right? Moving Africans rapidly through Atlanta, and I go see my probation officer, right? Yes, sir. So this man is talking. He's a brother. He talking. I'm not like at that time. Like I tell people, like I've said this story. I had a high top fade. Right? I don't know what it was looking like at that time. I might have had a perm in it, right? Because I would put dreads in it. I would put dreads on one side, perm on the other side. I had all kind of crazy hairstyles, right? Yes, sir. So this man is talking. I'm not listening to anything this man got to say. He knows I'm not listening. So he pulls out his drawer and he gives me a tape of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, right? But now I left something out of the story. Let me go back. That's when I was on probation. After I got arrested and I had to go to juvenile and I got out, I had to go downtown to get my bag because it was still at the jail in Atlanta, not the juvenile, which is out in DeKalb County, right? Mm-hmm. So I had to go back downtown to get my book bag, right? That I thought I was smart, had my clothes and everything. So I go get, this is before I even had probation and went to court. So I go get my book bag. It's like maybe 2 or 3 days after the riots. And I get my book bag. My first name has always been Abdul. So a brother who gives me my bag, he says Abdul. I said, yeah, that's me. I get my bag. And as I'm walking out, right, he says, "Are you with Farrakhan?" I had never heard the name before in my life. Mm-hmm. But it just sounded like the man you're supposed to be with. So I turned around and said, "Yeah, I'm with Farrakhan," right? So I ain't never heard the minister. If he showed me a picture, I wouldn't even know what he looked like, right? So there's that, right? And then I got probation. The man gives me a tape. So now I'm telling everybody I'm in the nation. All my high school, I'm in the nation. I ain't never met the minister, none of that, right? Don't know where the mosque is. So then a brother who's a friend of mine in high school, we're seniors now, right? I got arrested junior year, right? But senior year, which is April the 28th, 1990, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is coming to Atlanta. My friend, who I've been fronting and telling him I was a Muslim, he's like, "Man, Abdul, you going to see Farrakhan?" I got my tickets. I'm like, dang. So I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta go because I'm telling all these people I'm a Muslim, right? I read the autobiography of Malcolm X. I'm telling them I'm in the nation, right? So I went and got my ticket and went to see the minister, right? And it was general seating at that time, right? So I got a seat on the floor because I got there early. It was at the Omni. I think it was 13,000 people. Mm-hmm. And this is where he did the added up lecture. I've watched that lecture since then. And a lot of what he was talking about as a high school student went over my head. He's talking about Hiram Abiff and different things like that. I ain't know nothing about none of that, right? None of that, right? All I knew, if it wasn't about rap music, I didn't really know nothing about it, right? So now, but when he got to the end and he talked about add it up, man, brother, I believed that, like, once this man is done, because, I just wanted to fight. Once this man is done, once we get out the Omni, it's going to be on and popping. We're going to be burning the city to the ground. That's what I thought. Man, I got out the Omni. People just got in their cars and went home. I was kind of confused, right? Yes, sir. So I'm saying that, brother, that from that day, right, from the day I heard the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, from that day that I heard him on April the 28th, 1990, I was convicted from that day. Period. So as a high school student, and I came in the nation shortly thereafter, right? And I'm here today, so all praise is due to Allah. But I was convicted that day, so that is my conviction with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Praise be to Allah. Beautiful, sir. Beautiful.
Praise be to Allah.
And Brother Abdul, the people who are watching who may want to reach out to you for some guidance, some questions, some mentorship, where can they reach out to you on social media? Where can they?
My Twitter is at Brother Abdul. At Brother Abdul. You can hit me on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. It's a million Abdul Muhammad's, but you see a picture of me on Facebook, Abdul Muhammad. Instagram, Brother Abdul Muhammad on Instagram. Spell it all the way out, Brother Abdul Muhammad. So I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. My website is MTech Films, EMTEC Films, FILMS .com. So all of those definitely can reach out to me.
Perfect. Well, I want to thank you again, Brother Abdul, for coming on. I want to thank everybody who's watching. We look forward to hearing from you in the future, inshallah. And this is Joshua Leonard Muhammad signing off for the People's Podcast. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam, my brother. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.